In the time of Babylon, when the city gleamed under the watchful eyes of Marduk and his pantheon, there existed a shrouded domain known only to the priesthood. This domain was steeped in secrecy and was said to house ancient terrors and forgotten gods. Among these deities lurked Labasu, a figure wrapped in layers of myth and dread, known to the learned priests as the harbinger of chaos and the guardian of the abyss. The temple complex of Marduk loomed over the city, a monumental structure of obsidian and gold, where the flickering flames of incense danced like spirits in the night. Within these sacred halls, the priests gathered, adorned in elaborate garments woven with symbols of power. They were the keepers of arcane knowledge, the interpreters of the will of the gods, and the shield against the encroaching darkness that threatened to consume the world. One such priest, a man named Ammut, was renowned for his unyielding devotion and scholarly pursuits. With an insatiable thirst for knowledge, he delved deeper into the ancient texts, uncovering tales of Labasu, an entity that existed on the fringes of reality, said to manifest during times of great upheaval. It was whispered that Labasu could influence the minds of men, drawing them into madness and despair, and bending their wills to his own. Ammut's nights were often filled with visions, unbidden and vivid. In the starlit hours, he would see the shadowy form of Labasu, a grotesque figure with elongated limbs and a maw that gaped like the abyss itself. The priest could hear the distant echoes of whispers, beckoning him to a place beyond the veil of existence. In these dreams, the very fabric of reality seemed to warp and distort, revealing glimpses of a world where light and dark coalesced into an ever-shifting landscape. Driven by an insatiable curiosity, Ammut sought the counsel of the elder priests, those who had long guarded the forbidden texts. Their faces were etched with the lines of age, and their eyes shimmered with a knowing glint. They warned him, their voices grave, to delve into the secrets of Labasu is to dance with madness. The whispers you hear are not mere fantasies, they are the remnants of those who have succumbed to his influence. Yet Ammut was undeterred, believing that understanding Labasu would grant him power over the chaos that loomed beyond the city walls. He immersed himself in the texts, poring over translations and incantations. Each revelation brought him closer to an understanding, but also deeper into the shadows that enveloped him. One fateful night, under a blood-red moon that hung low in the sky, Ammut decided to perform a ritual to summon the essence of Labasu. In the heart of the temple, surrounded by flickering candles and sacred artifacts, he carved intricate symbols into the floor, forming a sigil that pulsed with a dark energy. As he began to chant the ancient incantation, the air thickened, and a palpable tension enveloped the chamber. The shadows in the corners of the room writhed and danced, and Ammut felt an overwhelming presence descend upon him. The walls of reality seemed to shatter, revealing the vast emptiness beyond. In that void, Labasu emerged, a being of pure chaos, his form shifting and swirling like a storm. The darkness twisted into grotesque shapes, echoing with the cries of the damned. "Why do you summon me, priest of Marduk?" the entity rumbled, its voice a symphony of despair. "Do you seek power, or do you wish to embrace the void?" Ammut, trembling yet resolute, spoke of his desire for knowledge, to understand the forces that shaped the cosmos. Labasu's laughter reverberated through the chamber, a sound that chilled the blood in Ammut's veins. "Knowledge is a double-edged sword, mortal. Those who seek it often find themselves ensnared in webs of their own making. Will you pay the price for enlightenment?" As Ammut's heart raced, he could feel the weight of the entity's gaze upon him, a pressure that threatened to crush his very soul. But the allure of forbidden knowledge held him captive. "I will pay any price," he declared, his voice steady despite the fear clawing at his insides. In response, Labasu began to weave a tapestry of shadows around them, pulling Ammut into a realm beyond mortal comprehension. Here, time lost all meaning, and the boundaries of reality dissolved. Visions flashed before his eyes, glimpses of ancient civilizations rising and falling, of wars fought in the name of gods and demons, and of knowledge lost to the tides of time. Within this abyss, Ammut discovered secrets that twisted his understanding of existence. He learned of the intertwining fates of gods and men, of rituals that could alter the course of history, and of the delicate balance that held the universe in place. But with each revelation, a creeping madness began to unfurl within him, gnawing at the edges of his sanity. Labasu's voice echoed in the depths of his mind, a seductive whisper that promised power and control. "Embrace the chaos, Ammut. With my knowledge, you shall become more than a mere mortal. You will be a harbinger of change, a vessel through which the void can manifest. As the visions continued to flood his mind, Amat felt himself teetering on the brink of despair. The weight of the knowledge he had gained became unbearable, and the shadows danced ever closer, threatening to engulf him whole. In that moment, he realized the true nature of Labasu, an entity not merely to be understood, but one that thrived on the very essence of fear and chaos. In a final act of desperation, Amat clung to the memory of Marduk, the embodiment of order and light. He summoned every ounce of willpower to push back against Labasu's influence, to reject the madness that sought to consume him. "I am a servant of Marduk," he shouted, his voice echoing defiantly through the abyss. The shadows recoiled, and for an instant, the entity faltered. Amat seized the opportunity to break the connection, the dark tendrils of Labasu's power tearing away from him. With a surge of strength, he chanted an incantation of protection, calling upon the divine energy of Marduk to shield him from the void. As the ritual reached its climax, the chamber erupted in a blinding light, illuminating the dark recesses of the temple. Labasu's form began to dissipate, the shadows retreating as if banished by the radiance of Marduk. In a final, desperate roar, the entity was pulled back into the darkness, leaving Amat gasping for breath, trembling on the floor of the temple. When the light faded and the shadows receded, Amat found himself alone, the air heavy with the remnants of the ritual. He had faced the abyss and emerged, but at a cost. The knowledge he had gained would forever haunt him, a whisper in the back of his mind, reminding him of the thin veil that separated order from chaos. In the days that followed, Amat struggled to return to his duties as a priest. The vision still lingered, and the shadows seemed to dance at the edges of his perception. The other priest sensed a change within him, a weight that had not been there before. Though he spoke of the importance of vigilance against the encroaching darkness, the flicker of madness could not be concealed. He began to notice the signs of Labasu's influence throughout Babylon. The people whispered of strange occurrences, dreams plagued by shadows, the sickened cries of those possessed by an unseen force, and the inexplicable misfortunes that befell the city. A fear gripped the hearts of the citizens, and Amat realized that Labasu was not merely a distant deity but a looming presence that sought to unravel the very fabric of their existence. Desperate to safeguard the city, Amat sought the counsel of the elder priests once more. In the dim light of the sacred chambers, he recounted his encounter with Labasu, the knowledge gained, and the chaos that followed. The elder priests listened intently, their expressions a mixture of concern and dread. "It is as we feared," one elder spoke, his voice trembling. "Labasu's influence has permeated our city. The boundaries between realms weaken, and we must act swiftly to restore balance." Together, they devised a plan to perform a great purification ritual, one that would draw upon the collective strength of the priesthood and the divine power of Marduk. They gathered in the heart of the temple, their chants echoing through the sacred halls, weaving a tapestry of light and order to combat the shadows. As the ritual unfolded, the air crackled with energy, and a golden light enveloped the chamber. Amat stood at the forefront, feeling the weight of his past decisions and the burden of the knowledge he had unwittingly unleashed. He concentrated on the essence of Marduk, channeling the divine energy into the very heart of Babylon. But even as the ritual progressed, Amat felt the lingering presence of Labasu, whispering darkly in the recesses of his mind. "You cannot escape me, priest. Your fear feeds me, and the shadows shall always return." The battle between light and darkness raged within him, and as the ritual reached its zenith, Amat let out a cry, summoning the strength of Marduk to banish the chaos. The light surged, illuminating the temple and casting the encroaching shadows into retreat. The voices of the priests harmonized, a powerful chorus that reverberated through the sacred space, binding them in purpose and faith. Yet, as Amat poured his spirit into the ritual, he could still feel Labasu's presence, a palpable whisper that threatened to unravel his resolve. "Foolish mortal," Labasu taunted from the depths of his mind. "You think your feeble light can hold back the darkness? I am eternal, a shadow that will always find a way to seep into the cracks of your reality." With each word, Amat felt his determination falter, but the memories of the people of Babylon, of their hopes, their prayers, and their love for life, fueled his strength. "No. I will not succumb to your whispers," he shouted, drowning out the darkness with the echoes of Marduk's glory. In that moment of defiance, the energies of the temple converged, illuminating the very essence of the cosmos. Ammut felt a warmth envelop him, a divine embrace that filled him with purpose and clarity. The sigils carved into the temple floor glowed with a radiant light, pulsing in sync with the rhythm of the priest's chants. As the ritual intensified, a blinding light erupted from Ammut's being, pushing back against the shadows, dispelling the whispers that sought to claim him. The priests around him raised their arms, channeling their collective will into the radiant force. The walls of the temple trembled, the very foundations vibrating with the surge of energy as Marduk's presence filled the air. In that moment, Ammut understood the true nature of power. It was not simply knowledge or the ability to manipulate the forces of the cosmos, it was the unity of purpose, the strength of community, and the unwavering faith in the light that would always prevail against the encroaching darkness. As the last notes of their chants faded into the air, the shadows of Labasu recoiled, howling in frustration. "You may have won this time, priest, but know that I am always near. The void cannot be banished forever, it will return, and with it, chaos shall reign." The light began to fade, and Ammut, now exhausted but resolute, felt the weight of his experiences settle upon him. The rituals had sealed the rift, at least for now, but the knowledge he had gained from Labasu would forever linger in his mind. He had tasted the chaos, glimpsed the abyss, and he knew that the battle was far from over. In the days that followed, Babylon began to heal. The whispers of fear gradually dissipated, replaced by a renewed sense of hope. The priests continued their vigilance, working tirelessly to maintain the balance between light and darkness. Ammut, now regarded with a mixture of reverence and caution, dedicated himself to the temple and the service of Marduk. Yet, as he walked the corridors of the temple, he often found himself staring into the distance, lost in thought. The shadows no longer danced at the edges of his vision, but the memories of his encounter with Labasu haunted him, a constant reminder of the thin line between sanity and madness. Late at night, when the city was still and the stars twinkled like distant lanterns in the vastness of the cosmos, Ammut would sit alone in the temple, poring over the ancient texts. He sought to understand Labasu, to comprehend the nature of chaos itself, and in doing so, he found fragments of truth buried within the shadows. Through his studies, he learned of the priesthood's historical role in Babylon, their intricate rituals designed not only to honor the gods, but also to ward off the supernatural forces that sought to disrupt the natural order. The priesthood was a barrier, a shield for the people, wielding the knowledge of the ancients as both a weapon and a safeguard. Among the scrolls, Ammut discovered references to other entities that existed beyond the veil, beings that, like Labasu, craved the attention of mortals and sought to extend their influence into the realm of the living. There were tales of the fierce and protective goddess Ishtar, who wielded the power of love and war, and of the ancient god Tiamat, whose primordial chaos birthed the world. But it was the story of the nameless terrors that drew him most. In hushed tones, the elders spoke of shadowy figures that slipped through the cracks of reality, whispering promises of forbidden knowledge and power. Each tale was more disturbing than the last, describing the fates of those who had succumbed to their influence, minds shattered, lives torn asunder by the weight of secrets that were never meant to be known. As the moon waxed and waned, Ammut became increasingly consumed by his obsession. He gathered his fellow priests, sharing the stories of Labasu and the other entities, urging them to remain vigilant and prepared. They held rituals not just to honor Marduk, but to strengthen their defenses against the darkness that lingered beyond the threshold. But as he delved deeper into the shadows, Ammut began to sense a change within himself. The fear and chaos that Labasu had instilled in him morphed into a fascination, a desire to understand the very nature of existence. The whispers of Labasu echoed in his mind, intertwining with his thoughts, tempting him with the promise of enlightenment and power. The duality of his existence, the priest of Marduk battling against the pull of chaos, created a rift within him that could not be ignored. He found himself drawn to the dark, lingering at the edge of the abyss, wondering what lay beyond the veil of sanity. The more he resisted, the more he craved the very chaos he sought to banish. One night, as the stars shimmered in the sky like distant eyes watching over the earth, Ammut made a decision that would change the course of his life forever. He would confront Labasu again, this time not as a servant of Marduk but as a seeker of truth. He longed to understand the nature of the chaos that had ensnared him and the world around him. In the sacred heart of the temple, he prepared for the summoning, drawing upon all he had learned from the ancient texts. The air thickened with tension as he etched the sigils into the floor, the symbols glowing with an ethereal light. He knew the risks but felt a pull that was impossible to ignore. As he began to chant the incantation, the shadows around him quivered and swirled, responding to the invocation. The air grew cold, and Amat felt a familiar weight settle upon his chest as Labasu emerged from the depths of darkness, a formless entity that writhed and twisted before him. "Why do you seek me again, Amat?" Labasu intoned, its voice a chorus of whispers that resonated within the very fabric of the cosmos. "Have you not learned the folly of your curiosity?" Amat stood firm, his heart racing yet resolute. "I seek understanding, Labasu. I wish to know the nature of chaos, the truth that lies within the shadows." A sinister laughter echoed through the chamber, reverberating like a thunderstorm. "Understanding comes at a price, mortal. You tread a dangerous path, one that leads to madness. Do you dare to pay the cost?" "I am willing," Amat replied, his voice steady despite the fear coursing through him. "I will embrace the darkness to find the light within." As Labasu coalesced into a more defined form, Amat felt the air pulse with an energy that transcended comprehension. The shadows danced around him, swirling in a hypnotic rhythm that drew him in. Visions flooded his mind once more, images of worlds beyond the stars, realms where chaos reigned supreme, and where existence itself was a mere whisper in the void. "Open your eyes to the truth," Labasu whispered, its voice a seductive melody. "Know that the universe thrives on chaos, that without it, creation would falter. You are but a fragment in this grand tapestry." Amat fought to maintain his grip on reality, but the allure of the shadows was intoxicating. "What is the cost?" he asked, his voice trembling. "What must I give to understand?" "You must surrender your will, your grasp on the fabric of your reality. Embrace the chaos, and you shall see the world as it truly is," Labasu replied, its form shifting, becoming more palpable. In that moment, Amat felt a surge of fear. The darkness beckoned, promising power beyond imagination, but he realized that to fully embrace it would mean forsaking his connection to Marduk, the very essence of order that had guided him throughout his life. In a desperate bid for clarity, he grasped the memory of his people, the warmth of their hopes, and the light of their prayers. "I cannot abandon my faith, Labasu. I am a servant of Marduk, a protector of Babylon," he declared, summoning the strength of his devotion. The shadows recoiled, and Labasu's laughter turned to rage. "You choose the light over the truth? Very well, priest. But know this, chaos is patient. It will wait for you, lurking in the shadows of your mind, until you are ready to embrace it." As Labasu's presence began to dissipate, Amat felt the weight of his decision. He had faced the abyss and had chosen to turn away, but the taste of chaos lingered on his lips, an intoxicating promise of what lay beyond the veil. He understood now that the struggle between light and darkness was eternal, a cycle that defined existence itself.